Hello, this is Nick995. Pardon my voice, I have a slight cold, but for this video, I'm talking about culture in games, culture and factions in games. And, shout out to Radio Top 6. Thanks for your support. If you're watching this, like, subscribe, share the video, please. If you're new, subscribe. Subscribe that little logo down there, like on the bottom right side of the screen, press on it, please. So, culture in games. So, culture. It really helps to make the game more immersive. It really helps with the immersion in the game. Immersion is very important because it makes the world feel real. It makes the whole game feel real, like realistic, like a Red Dead 2, or Witcher 3, Skyrim, or Infamous. And then culture also gives the NPCs, so non-playable characters. So those are characters for, let's say, side missions. It gives them life. It gives them more life, and meaning. Starting off now, the best example of a culture in the game is looking at this, right? You got the northern tribes. Rise Zero Dawn, you got northern tribes. So basically now it's a game where you're like hunter-gatherer. You're like prehistoric humans. You're trying to survive because you got these machines, right? These giant animal-like machines. So they've taken over and you guys are trying to survive and you guys harvest parts. But you got the northern tribe, which is like more of like, kind of like, I don't even know what do you call them, like Viking, Scandinavian, I'm not sure, but Nora, and the game they call Nora, and then Nora tribe, and then you got the Karja tribe. Karja, they're more based on Spartan / Roman Empire type culture, And then the Karja, they have these big castles. They got these huge castles, these huge towers. When you go to the cities, Meriden, and then you got the Shadow Karja, which is like this evil branch of Karja. Yeah, but the armor again, the Karja they dress completely differently. They talk differently, and then you obviously have a different accents in the game as well, American, British, and all that, and some a slight Greek accents, Italian. Now your characters are Nora, so the Nora they go through provings, right? So provings is basically like when you got like up and coming people like in the tribe, they'll basically and the tribe they'll basically be in like this competition / race, and then whoever wins this race where you gotta do hunting and whoever wins this you gotta they're gonna become like a scout for the group, so they're gonna be able to scout a different territory. They're allowed to leave the territory, and Nora, the average Nora isn't allowed to leave the territory, right, for the tribe. But I really like that, the different landscape and where they live. The northern Nora they live in like snow type woodland areas, whereas Karja they live in more civilized areas, right? Then there's a DLC which gives you like another subculture of Nora, which is even northern. They live in the far north, right? And then they have their own culture as well. Dishonored, which I'm playing now. Dishonored is again kind of like 1800, based on 1800 England, where you got kings and queens, and you got kings, people scheming against this king or queen, and you got queens being killed and all that. So yeah, and around the time, I can tell around the time, I think it was around the time when they had semi-automatic shotguns, dual wheel shotguns and all that, and you had swords, knives, blades, throwing knives and all that, and yeah. And it adds powers as well in it too as well, but it's very, you can feel the royal, like there's, when it's mainly stealth, espionage, so like when you go into the castles here, you feel the royalty, you feel, you got these huge, like these big, civilized and royal, wealthy castles, and like lots of infrastructure. And then you can go to the poor areas where there's rats in the ground, and you'll see like homeless people and all that. So yeah, Bethesda does a good job of that, making the world feel super real. And the soldiers as well. The soldiers, where most of them are like in like a navy blue type clothing or whatever, the navy blue type of army military clothing. If you look at any soldier from Imperial France or whatever, you can, or England, you can kind of see that. So yeah. Witcher 3, a good example, another great example of culture. Again, based on, very similar to the medieval. It's very based medieval type culture. Again, you got kings, queens, but it's like, you know, you got these huge ass castles, and there's a Novigrad you go to. There's different areas you go to. There's farming. There's farming. The farmlands you go to. You got poor folk, small folk, beggars, rich people, different soldiers, right? You got different armies, and as well, like the various amount of armor sets you get like in the game. It's amazing. Like there's so many different armor sets. There's countless amount, right? I like a Skyrim, you know, or but it's just amazing. It's so cool like that. You know, the attention to detail. Like this is at least my first time playing it. I gathered at least 15 different swords. So 15 different looking swords. They all have their own stats, right? So medieval type swords. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's the characters, the amount of accents in the game, like just like you feel the culture through the game. You got Greek accents. It's mainly British, Scottish, Irish, but you got Greek accents, Italian accents, Middle Eastern accents. There's even some I believe there's Russian accents as well in the game. And yeah, there's so many different types of, like cultures in the game. And when you play Spanish accents as well, when you play the DLC, you go to like an Imperial, I believe it's Imperial, it's like a medieval France, like, the medieval you meet these mythological creatures like vampires, werewolves, and giant ass, plant eating creatures or whatever, and then you got drowners. There's countless amount of creatures. Sirens is like this half woman / crazy fish type, species. So yeah, it's amazing. It's just amazing, and the voice acting is so good. And on top of that, you choose your own dialogue. It's like an RPG where you choose your own dialogue, in the game. So different ways to approach a situation or how you talk to this character. Another great example too is Red Dead 2. Now, Red Dead 2 does great in, it really captures that Western feel, that old Western feel. Like, but in this game, it's near the end of the, what's it called again? It's near the end of the cowboy era. So cowboys are see more of outlaws, right? So, I'm pretty sure. But so, when you go to more civilized cities in the game, like, that's the one called Lemoyne. It's kind of like based on New Orleans, right? Saint Denis. So Saint Denis is like a New Orleans type city. Like look up New Orleans city, and Saint Denis. There's all sorts of immigrants: the French, Chinese, Indian, all these different Spanish, Mexican. So there's tons of different cultures within that city alone, and that's just a small part of the map, right? The rest of the map, you got these weird night folk, psychopathic people. You got, other parts, you got town folk, you got hillbillies, you got, all these different, all these cultures that are living, together. And but it's mainly like Southern Americans, so they got the Southern accent, you got the Southern accent and all that. So yeah, and then, yeah, but the voice acting as well, it's really good. And your group as well, like your group, like the group that you're in, you got, it's multi-ethnic, so it's like white, black, Aboriginal, Latino, and all that. And what I really like, one of my favorite parts in the culture is you see the Aboriginal, you see how the U.S. Army, they have taken over their lands, right? Because oiling company, they come to take over the Aboriginal lands, and then the U.S. military, they do all these different types of. That's how the game portrayed it, right? So they do these different atrocities against Aboriginal people, and then the Aboriginal, they have to gather like a small army to fight against the U.S. military, and that was part of the story itself, during this. It's pretty cool, and just, this cultures, artifacts as well, that you have to gather in this one mission for the Aboriginals. They're cool. I can talk endlessly about culture in this game. Endless amount of different. And factions as well, different gangs as well. Another one now is great example now is I'm kind of Mercenaries 2. You had factions. Now it's very faction heavy game. So you would have things like you're in Venezuela. So Venezuela obviously being very oil rich, right? Lots of oil. So it's a target for China and America in the game. So the Chinese army and America, they come and invade Venezuela. The Venezuelan army, they're like the main evil, force in this game. So you're trying to fight. You're fighting against them and this dictator Solano, right? No, it has a cheesy tone to it, right? Cheesy cartoonish tone, kind of. But the game is centered around revenge. And in the game, you got the Venezuelan rebels, right? You got the guerrillas that they call them. So they have their own military. Their main goal is to take back Venezuela from this evil dictator, right? Solano. And then through that too, they live in these woodlands or like these huge forest type areas. Kind of like if you look at Brazil, then you see, like look up huge forest areas in Brazil. So they live in these forest areas in Venezuela, and the giant trees, and they live in tree houses and all that. They have their own military, their own vehicles and helicopters in the, but it's pretty cool. It's really, really, really cool. And you talk to them. They have a strong hatred for the government, and there's also Jamaican pirates as well. They come in, they're Jamaican. They have, and then each faction has their own flag. So the Jamaican pirates, they have like the way the game has it set up. They have like it's like a white skeleton on a purple background flag, and the Venezuelan guerrillas, they have a dark green and I believe it's black. No, a dark green flag with a white sword or something like that. And then there's like there's a U.S. oil company as well, the Universal Petroleum, which is like a black and white symbol. China is like, a Chinese flag, so yellow and red, so so they all have their different, different flags and values. Now, it's more of like a war type thing where you basically choose every faction has like a trust meter towards you. So you being like a solo mercenary, they have a trust meter. So once the trust meter goes high, that means that like you're good with that faction. But sometimes like if you side with other factions, it'll piss off other factions as well. So you can't please everybody in the game. Some factions will want you to attack other factions to gain their trust or to get resources and vice versa. So it's just choosing sides and see who likes who. Like the Venezuelan guerrilla forces, they obviously hate everybody in the game. They don't like America. They don't like they don't like the pirates as well. The oil company, but their only allies in the game is China. Basically, China supplies them heavily. So a culture in games, and this is only going to be part 1. God of War as well, where you have basically Greek mythology based on Greek. So you meet these Greek gods, obviously. Kratos, Zeus. No, you are Kratos. You meet Zeus, Hades, Poseidon, Hermes, and there's mythological creatures in the game like Centaur is a one-eyed beast. There's Cyclops, the one-eyed beast. The Centaur is a half man, half horse. He's Cerberus, this giant 3-headed dog beast. You fight Hercules and all that, and just the giant buildings and infrastructure in the game. It's so well done, and the puzzles, music as well. There's one where you gotta play a piano too, as this giant piano as a way to progress through the game. In God of War 3 and basically any God of War game. In God of War 1 you fought Ares, right? So being a God of War, and then spoilers, you can't take on. So he's a God of War, and then you kill Ares, and you become the God of War. You take on the God of War mantle. So So anyways, that's it for this video. I don't want to make it too long, but anyways, that's it. Like, subscribe, share. You guys know. Thank you.